Hey guys, so I recently picked up one of these Bergeon 7825 spring bar tool. So this is a spring bar tool that's a little different than your standard one because this set here is a pair of tweezers. The tweezers here are anti-magnetic stainless steel and they are quite nice to hold. They have a nice resistance to it, so when you're actually pushing it, the ends here are hardened steel, so these definitely can damage your watch, so be very careful when you use them. This item here does take quite a bit of practice to use, so just go very slow and be patient. So this tool here was made after a Rolex model, so if you have a Rolex watch and you want to change out your bracelets and straps and stuff like that, definitely invest in this guy here, just because this guy is narrow enough to fit inside of the area where the spring bar is, and because of the tight tolerances on Rolex bracelets, this will allow you to remove the bracelet easily without scratching the lugs or the watch case, assuming you do it correctly. So let's go into the demo here. So here's the difference between the Omega spring bar and the Rolex spring bar. As you can see, the Rolex spring bar has two collars, an outer collar and an inner collar. The outer collar goes against the watch head, and the inner collar is what you want to grab onto with the spring bar tool. And on the Omega one on the left, it only has a single collar. The outer collar there, or the only collar on the Omega spring bar, goes against the watch head. Therefore, in order to get the tool to work on the Omega, you need to go right up against the watch head and that collar to depress the spring bar enough to release it. So here is a Rolex watch with a Rolex bracelet. So as you can see here, the area in there is quite narrow, so you need a tool that can fit in there. So the best way to do this is to take the spring bar tool here and slowly find those collars. So the collars on the spring bar, on the Rolex spring bar, are easier to grab than most spring bars. So just go in slowly and grab them. And then when you have them, well, I like to switch hands to my left because I want my right hand to do all the moving. So when you have a firm hold of those spring bars, just squeeze them. Oops. There we go, just squeeze it. You'll feel both sides compress, and then slowly take the watch head out and then release. If you release too quickly, the spring bars can go flying, and that is how you remove it. Let's reattach the bracelet to the watch head. So I like to do things differently here. I like to do it a little backwards. So I like to use my right hand here to control the bracelet with the spring bar tweezers. So making sure I pinch the inside collar and I have a nice hold of that spring bar. I like to move the watch head into the bracelet and then let go. So you'll find that moving the head of the watch into the bracelet gives you more security with the tool and holding the spring bar. Because if you're using the spring bar to move around, you're going to lose a lot of grip with that spring bar tool on the spring bars. So let's move on to the Omega. So here is the Omega. So like I did with the Rolex, I took the bracelet off just so you guys can see a little better. So this guy here only has the outer collar, so we have to go in a little slower just because we don't want to damage that watch case either. And grab the spring bar. So make sure we have everything nice, and it's actually a lot tougher to get than the Rolex because this tool wasn't made for Omega spring bars, because it's really in there. So okay, there we go, we got one side and both sides, and now just pull it away from the watch head, and there we go. Now it's time to reattach the Omega bracelet to the Omega watch head. Just like before, I'm going to use my right hand here to pinch the spring bar. I'm going to line it up like this just because it's much easier, because these spring bars weren't made for this, well, this tool wasn't made for this spring bar. So we're just gonna slowly pinch it and release, and then you just have to push it around a tad, and then the spring bar itself will fall into the holes. And that is basically it, how to reattach. So that is everything. I've used it on the Omega and I've used it on the Rolex. On the Rolex, it is much easier to use for sure because the tool was made for the Rolexes. In a pinch, it'll work for the Omega, but I don't recommend it just because I don't feel like the tool holds the Omega spring bars as well as the Rolex spring bar. Well, again, guys, that's everything. Thank you for watching.